Really looking forward to this race, possibly more than any other race on the card tonight. And we're looking at number 1, that's Rascal for Dougie Costello and James Evans. A son of invincible spirits, he started his career with Godolphin, but was soon cast off, and it hasn't really taken James Evans too long to find the secret to him, as he arrives here on a hat-trick, albeit at a much lower level than no doubt Godolphin hoped he would achieve. He was particularly impressive at Wolverhampton just 3 days ago, and under a £5 penalty holds obvious claims, given his upwardly mobile profile. The polytrack, though, is a slight question mark, as improvement thus far has come on Tapiter, but no surprise to see him run close. Right, behind him, just coming into shot now, is Gary Moore's contender, and that is Sausalito. Didn't cut much mustard for Clive Cox. And so far for Gary Moore, it's been a similar story. Still early days for the 3-year-old, but he needs to find a lot more, having been beaten out of sight on his past 3 goes. So hopefully better to come tonight. Let's drop back to number 12, Fast R. So I think this one's really probably up against it. Was off the track for over 1,200 days prior to his return at Brighton earlier this month. And I think he's going to struggle here. Having been well beaten that day, he needs to prove that he's back on form. He does look quite well, though, I have to say. He looks pretty fit, so maybe there is more to come from Fast Art. Right, we can pan back from number 12 all the way back to number 8, and that is Albus Ann. 0 from 9 so far, but steadily getting the hang of things, and ran well last time to be third on soft ground at Chepstow, finishing ahead of Zealot, interestingly. Slight concern, though, her best efforts have come with ease underfoot, and on her 5th here 2 starts ago, when pretty well beaten, she'd need a fair bit more. And behind Albus Ann is number 13, and that is Purple Paddy. We heard from Kieran O'Neill a little bit earlier on about Purple Paddy. And it's got to have a fairly decent claims if bouncing back to his best, but that is a fairly big if. He has won 3 times over course and distance, but didn't look great last time at Wolverhampton. That was 2 weeks ago when hooded for the first time, so needs to rediscover some spark. Behind number 13, that's number 2. That's one of the favourites for this, Zealot, who bolted up here on September Stakes Day and really taking fashion, landing a gamble on that day. He got the lead early and put them under pressure, under the pump, 1 by 1, for a very taking victory. Looked to have strong claims off £12 tar at Chepstow 10 days later, but I don't think the soft ground suited him at all. So if returning to the form he produced here, back under ideal conditions, then even off nearly a stone higher, he'd have pretty strong claims. Looking at number 8 now. I'm looking at number 5, sorry. And that is Craft in Silk. First time visor here needs to work because he's 0 from 9 so far, and despite going close a couple of times, was beaten 27 lengths at Nottingham last time. So needs to find something. Switch to polytrack from a wide draw. Right, let's drop back to number 6, so behind number 1. And number 6 is here at the track. 0 from 12 so far, but started handicap life well, finishing 3rd here off 66. It has been a struggle since then, though, and his decline is reflected in his mark, which is now 57, but hasn't really shown enough to suggest his turn is near either. Behind him is number 4. That's Florence Street. Took a while for her to get going, but she scored for the first time at Lingfield last month, doing it well from the front. No doubt this is a stronger race, and she faces competition for the lead if those tactics are employed again. But she is versatile in that regard. She doesn't have to go from the front. It's £3 higher now, and I think that could just find her out, given her overall record. Right, that's pretty much it then for the horses in the parade ring. Any of those I've missed, I'll catch up at the post.
In our 4th race, it's gone to the top one, number 1. Who's been thought to be the best turned out?
Better. Rascal is 7-4, and as is Zealot, 7-4 joint favourites. I jest. Dangerous Rascal, 8-1. Albasan, 10-1. Here at the track is 12-1, 14s, and bigger the remainder. OK, 7-4 joint. Where do you want to start, Steve?
We'll start with the two at the top. They're different. They come for different reasons. Zealot, 2 runs ago, absolutely bolted up over today's course and distance, and was stuck up £12 for that 5 win. You couldn't really argue it on the night because the horse won really easily. He bombed next time out on softer ground at Chepstow, I think it was, and now he's back on the all-weather. Is he going to come right back to the form he was? If he is, fair enough.
This is the Kempton win.
Yeah, and could the handicapper have put him up any less than 12? I don't think he could, really. It was 5 lengths and full value for it. Still 12's not wonderful. And I say, you are having to say, which is perfectly reasonable, it was soft ground the reason last time out. It wasn't the fact that, I don't know, he bounced or something like that, because he'd been missing for a long time before this win. And then the next run was very underwhelming. Rascal, who's the joint favourite, is a sort of a different animal. He's been in really good form, and he probably put up his career best last time, but he's won his last 2 anyway. He's got a £5 penalty for winning last time out. The way he won, you wouldn't think that would necessarily stop him. It might be that Zealot is still way ahead of his mark. It might be that he's is he a risky proposition? Is he a horse who... Are we going to see him run to that level again? I don't know. I think in some ways Rascal is the more likely to run his race, even if he's not necessarily any more likely to win.
I'd answer the is he a risky proposition more happily after the start, and I see what early position he gets as well.
I thought you were say after the race, because that would be...
I'll answer it after the race, yeah. That's what I really liked to do.
Yeah, me too.
But I think I'm pretty confident about him being back on the all-weather and back over this course and distance. It's just I'd like to see him get a nice position at 12. He probably will.
Yeah.
But that's what I'd like to see. How do you think they'll ride Rascal here? Patient?
Yeah, fairly patiently, I think so. But I just think he comes in great form. He absolutely trotted up at Wolverhampton last time out. I do think that was his best run.
Actually, he was pretty prominent at Southall before. I hadn't realised that. So maybe
he's got a better draw from 5, hasn't he? You'd imagine he'd be a chase leaders type horse. I mean, Zealot, you would think would be ridden prominently. There's a couple of other prominent racers. Florence Street can be ridden prominently. Craft in Silk can be ridden prominently. So it may not be easy for Charles Bishop to get right across, but you'd imagine the plan would be to sit pretty handy with him.
There is Rascal under that £5 penalty. Does Dangerous Rascal stay a mile?
Not a certainty, I didn't think.
I mean, we haven't really had an answer the last 2 starts, certainly not last time.
No, and I'm not sure what sort of form he is. He certainly, obviously, there must have been something wrong with him last time. He ran really poorly and was tailed off. I thought Albasan was interesting. I know he's a 9-race maiden, but the last run at Chepstow I thought was arguably her best to date, and previously she ran over today's course and distance and ran pretty well. I thought she might run OK at a price.
Purple Paddy, it was riderless there. Now, this horse has been tricky before, has been reluctant and slowly away, has been walked down to the start a couple of times. I don't know if that's the issue here, or whether or not... I don't really know what's going on there. Kieran O'Neill looked like he was sniffing his neck. I'm sure he's not. Final thoughts?
I think Rascal's the more certain to run his race. In many ways, Zealot's the most interesting runner.
OK. Tom Ball, all yours.
Cheers, Tom. Yeah, I think it's probably between the front 2 in the market. I'm not going to get any prizes for deciding on that, but Rascal is more dependable than Zealot, I think. Zealot is very in and out, very erratic, but clearly in this type of grade has plenty of ability, as we saw when he bolted up here on September Stakes Day a couple of starts ago. You could put a line through that last run at Chepstow. The soft ground just didn't do anything for him at all, and the money is there again tonight, 6-4 now, backed into outright favouritism, as Rascal remains solid, to be fair, at 7-4. I just feel the way that he won last time was really emphatic. He's very straightforward, and if there are any quirks in Zealot, which I think there are, Rascal is going to take advantage. I also think there might be a duel up front for the pace, because Florence Street was a winner from the front, getting off the mark, doing so last time. It was at Lingfield. And you'd think Connections want to lead again with Florence Street, because that saw her come home in front for the first time after a fair number of cracks at it. And I think possibly she and Zealot could just set it up for a closer in the shape of a Rascal type. So it's going to be interesting to see how the pace pans out. a couple in here at bigger prices are fairly interesting. There's been a bit of money today for here at the track for David Probert and Mark Usher. It needs to bounce back, really, but it is quite well handicapped, so if doing so is definitely worth a second look. And Albazan has been nicely supported throughout the last 24 hours as well. And you can see why, really, because she finished in front of Zealot at Chepstow last time, but I do think her best performances so far have come on soft ground. Whether tonight's conditions are going to play to her strengths in quite the same way remains to be seen, as we see Purple Paddy having his own ideas about going into the stalls. Hopefully the blindfold will work its magic in a minute, and as will the stall handlers as well. Let's talk about a couple of the others in here. Craft in Silk goes for Ishmael Mahadit, and Callum Shepherd for Mr. Saeed H. Altaya, who had a very impressive win actually earlier on the day at Newcastle in what was a pretty decent race, a fast track qualifier for all-weather finals day. And Craft in Silk wears a first-time visor now, which does need to work because he's 0 from 9 so far. Has gone close a couple of times though, so I don't think he needs to find a huge amount. She needs to find a huge amount, I should say, daughter of Master Craftsman, to really get involved in the finish here. That wide draw she's got is going to possibly hinder her somewhat, but hopefully she can produce enough early speed to make sure that it isn't. Let's have a look at some of the others then. Dangerous Rascal, didn't talk about that one in the parade ring. By far his best start so far came at this track, so that's definitely a positive on handicap debut, when he finished a close third of 12. However, it's not been quite so good recently. At Windsor after that, and on his return at Foss Lass, he was found to have an irregular heartbeat. So, provided he's got over that, that was his first start for Paul and Oliver Cole. I think he could have a chance here. Apart from the top two in the market, it's not the strongest race in the world, but he does need, I think, the return to this track to spark a bit of a revival. Still waiting for Purple Paddy to go into the stalls. It's slow motion stuff, isn't it? Kieran O'Neill looking for a double on the day after he landed the first race with Hausack in pretty emphatic start, wasn't it, from the front. Those I haven't mentioned, let's have a little look, shall we? Fast Art is a massive price here, and you can see why, but he was off the track for over 1,200 days prior to a well-beaten return at Brighton earlier this month, but he quite clearly needed the run, and I have to say in the parade ring he looked very fit indeed. So if Fast Art comes on for that, it wouldn't surprise me at all, because I have to say I thought that the strength of his frame tonight was quite something to remark on. There is the market. Zealot 6-4 favourite outright, Mascoul 7-4. Money for Dangerous Rascal, which is unsurprising given what I just said about him having potential off this mark. Albazan is 10-1 here at the track, 12s, Florence Street 16s, and then some outsiders, Craft and Silk and Purple Paddy 33s, Twilight Revenge 50-1, Sausalito 66s, Debbie's Choice 100, and then the outsider, as I was saying, is Fast Art at 150-1. But Florence Street is the other last time out winner in this race. I mentioned that she's probably going to get on with it from the head of affairs and take on Zealot. And you often find with this kind of horse that once they get their head in front for the first time, because it did take her quite a long time to get off the mark, their confidence can be boosted, and then wins do start to appear perhaps more than they did before. And she's gone into the stalls in fairly swift fashion, as we see Craft and Silk going in. That's Mascoul, that's one of the favourites in this race. I'd favour him slightly over Zealot. I think Zealot might have a little bit more raw ability, but has too many quirks for me, and I think faces that potential pace battle up front, which might play into the hands of Mascoul. Number 14 going in, that's Debbie's Choice, daughter of Ardad. I think needs to improve a fair bit on recent form to get involved here, but a first-time hood is worn. I don't think she really needed one, personally, having looked at her last couple of starts, because she's not been that keen, so I was quite surprised to see that employed, but of course it could improve her. I thought she had every chance from the box seat here last time and just couldn't quicken, so something needs to eke out a little bit more. That's number 6 going in, that's here at the track for David Probert. We're waiting for number 8, Albazan. Dane O'Neill in the plate for Jimmy Fox, and that's Zealot, number 2, likely to go from the front. Big strapping type that he is, and looking to give another winner to what's been a fine year for Eve Johnson-Horton. Here's Ian.
Set. They're off. Race over a mile here. Very slow to get out was the previous winner, Purple Paddy. Not quite as slow as he was to get in, though. He's at the back of the field as they begin, and early on, Craft in Silk up round the outside of Debbie's Choice. Zealot is there, Florence Street in a prominent position. Mascoul amongst these leaders as well, and then Fast Start and Here at the Track. Behind those is Albus and the yellow jacket of Dangerous Rascal along the outside of the orange of Twilight Revenge. Sausalito is further behind these and towards the rear of the field, and Purple Paddy is caught up with the others as Zealot in the pink and white. He's got over from stall number 12 on this and gone through to lead here. The red headgear, Florence Street running in second from Craft in Silk, and behind these Here at the Track, and then comes Fast Start, who's being ridden along black, yellow and red colours. Debbie's Choice against the rails, also in black and red is Mascoul, goes okay, this one off the rails, it's 5th, 6th at the moment. Twilight Revenge in the orange making progress, Albasan is behind this, and then comes Dangerous Rascal. Sausalito with the white sleeves towards the back of the field in company with Purple Paddy as Zealot has levelled up for home with the advantage. Craft in Silk trying to get to him against the running rail. Here at the Track and Florence Street nearest to us, and here comes Mascoul making progress behind these Twilight Revenge and Purple Paddy also getting into it. Wide open at the furlong pole, Mascoul. Dougie Costello's come through to join Craft in Silk in the white and dark blue colours. Behind those is Zealot, but it is Mascoul as they head up towards the line. The hat-trick is his. Craft in Silk, Zealot second and third position, and Here at the Track behind those in fourth.
3 in a row for Mascoul. He had to weave through traffic to get the job done, but he does so in pretty good style in the end and sees off a very determined Craft in Silk in second. That's much better from her. And back in third was Zealot, who had every chance from the front, but possibly did a little bit too much too soon. In fourth there was Here at the Track. But the winner, Mascoul, top weight, under a penalty, goes in once again. 7-4, Dougie Costello and James Evans, this former Godolphin recruit for Saïd bin Sarur. Well, James Evans has done superb work with him. And he had to come from a fair way back, but there was a lot of pace on. Zealot was up there, Craft and Silk and Florence Street were all vying for the lead early on, and I think that has played into the hands in the end of Mascoul. Dougie Costello doing his weaving act through rivals, and it wasn't instantaneous, but he always looked like he was going to get near there or thereabouts, wasn't he? Craft and Silk has been a much improved rival in that first-time visor. Clearly that's had a big impact on her, as has this switch to polytrack. But I think we're looking at a much improved and progressive rival in the shape of Mascoul, who has most certainly really found something extra in his last 4 starts, and is probably better than this grade, really, as you'd expect from his flashy pedigree. Obviously, he was never really